What's up, everybody? My name is Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. Welcome wherever you are watching, and happy holidays to each and every one of you. We're streaming live right now on the Heavy on Jets Facebook page, all 15,000 of you. Thanks for joining on youtube.com/BoyGreen25, and, of course, on Twitter, the verified Blue Check Gang at BoyGreen25. And a surprise live stream here. We were with you after the postgame for Jets-Dolphins, and now we're going to do it again, but this time I will not be alone. Let me welcome for the very first time on this live stream. It is Joe Caporoso, the man, the myth, the legend, the architect, quite frankly, of the Badlands franchise. Joseph, how are you? Happy holidays, man.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here talking about another awesome Jets team.
Yeah, isn't that right? Which, of course, everybody, quick plug before we go any further, Joseph, is you guys and Badlands, a combination of Joe Caporoso and Connor Rogers, that original TOJ crew with this brand new product that, I assume that everyone knows, but quite frankly, not enough people know because there's not a billion patrons and subscribers yet. So take a moment here and tell people where they can subscribe, and most importantly, what is Badlands?
So Badlands is on Patreon, and you can subscribe at patreon.com/BadlandsTOJ. And it is basically a bi-weekly ad-free podcast from Connor Rogers and myself. We do an episode every Wednesday. We do an initial reaction after the game every Sunday, usually about 40 minutes or so, no ads because we have the monthly subscription fee. We also do weekly film breakdowns from Connor, which are incredibly informative and interesting. On his end, we do weekly picks. And then once we get into the off season, we'll be doing a mix of mock drafts. Connor does a huge comprehensive draft guide. We do different docuseries with interviews with different people. We've had everyone from Damian Woody to Benjamin Solak to Danny Kelly to all the different beat writers on. So it's just a lot of Jets content from Connor and myself, who have been doing this for a while like crazy people. So check it out at patreon.com/BadlandsTOJ.
All right, there you go. You heard it from the man himself. Again, Joe Caporoso of Badlands. By the way, again, another reminder, wherever you guys are watching right now, feel free to drop in a few questions. We'll try to get to some of those here on the live stream. We got a limited amount of time here with Mr. Joe Caporoso. So wherever you're watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit a thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. But before we get to some of the fans' questions, I have a few questions off the top. And because it is the holiday season, Joseph, I got the Jets Christmas hat on it, of course, and the Christmas vacation shirt. How could we not with the festive spirit? I have to ask you, is there any Jets Christmas memory that jumps out to you, either from your childhood or even most recently? There's been a lot of memories, for better or for worse, connected to the Jets, I'm sure, in Christmas.
Well, I have one positive one and one negative one. The negative one is the same one that every Jet fan has that kicked off this 11-year playoff drought. I was at the Jets-Giants game that they lost on Christmas Eve in 2011 with the Victor Cruz TD. That game was headed in the Jets' direction prior to that play, and it's kind of all been downhill since then. However, on the more positive side, I don't know if everyone remembers, but 2006 – Christmas night, they beat the Miami Dolphins on Sunday Night Football to basically clinch a playoff spot. And that team was a very nice, pleasant surprise. They were supposed to be terrible. They ended up going 10-6 and making the wild card. So that was a more fun, positive Christmas memory. A little big play from Leon Washington, from Chad Pennington down the stretch to ice the win.
No, it's hard. It's to miss those days of Pennington and Leon Washington and just all of those years. And then even obviously most recently with the Thomas Jones, LaDainian Tomlinson, Faneca, and Woody. Obviously you guys have had on Badlands before. Those are great memories. Hopefully one day we can get back to those, which brings me to my next festive themed question here. What should Jet fans be looking for under the tree at Christmas? Give a positive here. Wrap up a nice little present here. What should Jet fans be hoping for under the tree?
Look, I think you want 3 solid, productive games from Zach Wilson to end the season. You want Elijah Moore to play the last 2 games and play well with Zach Wilson. It's hard to say if you want technically a win or a loss. It's not the worst thing in the world if the Jets lose this weekend because they may end up picking first or second. That being said, going to be a tough pill to swallow if this coaching staff can't beat this Jacksonville team at home. And Zach Wilson can't outplay Trevor Lawrence, who hasn't thrown a touchdown in like 5 months. So it's an interesting one because this is probably their last chance to win a game. But let's just go with Zach playing well down the stretch and getting a couple more games and a couple more touchdowns out of Elijah Moore.
We'll get back into the Jets-Jags thing in a second, but I do need to address, and you guys talked about it on the post-game show, the Zach Wilson media narrative. For me, I didn't get to tweet this out before we hopped on, but the biggest thing for me is the moving field goal post. 1 week, it's, oh man, Zach Wilson, you're throwing too many interceptions. Rein it in, man. Play within the offense. He plays within the offense. Well, where's all the touchdowns, man? Where's all the big plays? What are you doing? So it just feels like the conversation continues to move, making it nearly impossible for Zach Wilson. Again, there's no question that he's played poorly this year. It's been disappointing as a number 2 pick, but also I do feel like there is that narrative of the moving field goal post that makes it very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think last week was a good example. He started the game, 9 for 9, was playing very well in the short passing game, and was still getting some criticism during the game on that. It's what we've been asking for, right? We wanted him to be more consistent, throwing the ball underneath and protecting the football. So that's been positive. Now, he still has to work on his pocket presence. He still has to work on just generating more points and big plays. But I think what we're seeing here, both from fans and media, is fatigue from Sam Darnold and kind of treating this like year 4 of just a generic young quarterback, where it's really year 1 for a new guy. And he's going through similar growing pains that every other rookie quarterback is going through, except for Mac Jones, who's in a much different situation than Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Trey Lance, really can't get on the field this year. So look, he has not played well. He has done certain things better. And I think, I look at the Eagles game, I look at this game, like they were like okay performances considering the circumstances, not anything to go crazy about, but also nothing to blame the losses on him for and be like, you have to give up on this quarterback after 10 games. There's been some ugly moments, but he has absolutely made strides in protecting the football. And last week made strides in his accuracy in the short passing game.
Joe, you need to help me through this one. Let's get back to the Jets-Jags. We got Jets-Jags, which before the season, I'm going to be honest, I circled Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, number 1 pick, number 2 pick. It was interesting, and now somewhat less so with both teams being terrible. But I have to ask you, I am battling those demons that you and Connor were talking about at the end of the show. On one hand, I would like nothing more than Zach Wilson hope a can of whoop ass on the Jaguars and go buck wild. And maybe, Tampa Bay secondary looks a little questionable. Maybe you could carry that momentum in and do something. On the other hand, losing to an embarrassing franchise like the Jacksonville Jaguars, while potential path to a number 1 pick or top 2 pick, which of course is those edge rushers under the tree. I don't know what to do here, Joseph. I'm not sure how to feel, and I feel like a lot of Jet fans are struggling with that.
It's a win-win or a lose-lose, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's nothing you could do. How you root ultimately isn't going to impact it. I think you could find a way to talk yourself into the result either way. I think the only thing you don't want to happen is nobody wants to see the Jets win this game 10-9 with Zach Wilson playing terrible. If it's going to be a 10-9 game, lose. Everyone should want them to lose. Is anyone going to complain if Zach Wilson throws for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns and they blow out Jacksonville? No, you hope that Detroit keeps winning and you catch a couple breaks and you're going to lose to Buffalo and Tampa. Spoiler alert anyway. So maybe you still end up with the second pick. Not likely. It's just hard. I mean, it's hard that we're kind of in this situation every December with this team. So I am curious. I think objectively, as bad as the Jets are, I think they're better than Jacksonville. And I think much like the Houston game, they should win. Like, they're a better team. They probably should win this game. I mean, Jacksonville just got ran off the field by a Houston team the Jets beat. But you never know because the Jets defense is so bad. James Robinson could run for 400 yards on them, and that could be it. So it's going to be interesting, and you'll be able to find a way to talk yourself into the result regardless of how it plays out.
And that's how I see myself doing it. Again, if they win, I'm like, beautiful. I wanted the win. If they lose, well, we got a great pick. So either way, it may be, to your point, a win-win. Again, a reminder, wherever you guys are watching, we're streaming live on the Heavy on Jets, 15,000 people. Hello to all of you. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter right now. Wherever you're watching, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate the support. And, of course, Badlands, obviously, for Joe Caporoso. All right, Joe, I do need to bring this up, but we've seen it. You do these Saturday AM tweets Twitter questions for fans. You're very engaging with the fans. One thing you've consistently brought up that intrigues me greatly is this veteran trade that maybe perhaps could boost things for the Jets. Historically, they've done a lot. Braylon Edwards, Antonio Holmes. There's been all kinds of names, offense and defense, over the years where it gave them a nice little boost. It gave them somebody that they could have on this team. You've brought that up. You brought that up on the most recent podcast as well. Who are some of the names you could be hinting at or talking about that would make sense to fit that bill? Because I don't disagree, quite frankly. It would be a very creative way for Joe Douglas to use a lot of the assets he has to bring somebody in that could fill that void. But what is that void and who potentially could fill it?
Look, I think the general overall point is that at this point, the Jets need to use every means at their disposal to improve their roster. Can't just be the draft. It has to be free agency and trades. Now, in terms of specific names, it's challenging because you never know who's ultimately going to shake free. But is there something to be done for Michael Thomas, maybe? A depreciated asset, a guy who, when he's right, is one of the best receivers in the game. He's probably never going to play for the Saints again. Could there be something to be done for Jerry Jeudy after the Broncos just paid a ton of money to Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton? Doesn't seem to be too involved in the offense there. This is a little bit of just throwing crap against the wall, but you got to look at those kind of situations. And is there a playmaker? It doesn't have to be a receiver. It could be a tight end that you can take advantage of and try to flip one of your extra draft picks and more quickly improve your roster and improve Zach Wilson's chances of performing well. So those are the type of things that they have to be thinking about. It's not just going to be able to be the draft because they need more to their roster that can't only be addressed in that way.
All right. Well, speaking of the draft, I know Connor Rogers is the savant in this category specifically, but on a broader sense here, you guys talked about creativity will be necessary in the draft. For instance, the Jets draft picks are going to keep moving around over the final couple weeks. So what it will ultimately be is up in the air. But with that being said, are you an advocate for what Connor Rogers has suggested about the Jets getting creative, potentially be willing to trade up, trade back, move around the chessboard to do whatever is necessary and not be stuck in any one way like, oh man, we need to insert this or insert that there could be some creativity here, whether they trade up with that first pick to get an edge rusher, if they end up beating Jacksonville and then recoup kind of the picks later by trading back. Are you an advocate for that level of creativity?
Yes, I think especially if they're not picking one or two, every option has to be on the table. And look, maybe you have to stay put and you take Evan Neal or you take one of the second-tier pass rushers. That could happen. But when you have as much capital as the Jets have, which is 4 picks likely in the top 40, potentially 2 picks in the top 10, and you have a gazillion holes, you have to look at the options when it comes to trading back and then maybe trading back up. Everything should be on the table. Now, unfortunately for the Jets, this is a weak quarterback class. That being said, you never know who's going to shoot up the draft board and who might get desperate and overpay for the right to get a quarterback. So I think a lot of Jet fans are interested in taking Lindenbaum in the first round. I don't think anyone wants to take him at number 7 or number 8. Can you move back to number 15 or 16, get more draft capital, add him, and then draft a tight end with the extra pick, draft another receiver with the extra pick, make an addition at safety? I think they need so much that you have to look at every single option. Really, the only positions they're not going to invest major resources in, I think you're probably okay at running back. Whether you like it or not, they're going to stay status quo at quarterback. You feel okay about guard, of course, with Elijah Vera-Tucker. And cornerback's been a little better than you thought. But beyond that, everything's really on the table. They need 2 safeties. They need more help at edge rusher. They need more at linebacker around C.J. Mosley. They need another playmaker on the outside. They need 1 or 2 tight ends. It's a roster that needs a lot of help.
Yeah, I was trying to keep count of all those holes that the Jets may have. How far away are they really? We'll get to that in just a little bit. Again, we're only here for a couple more minutes here with Joe Caporoso. Bringing up the quarterback thing is interesting because, again, I was one of many who crapped on you got to do something, Jets. You got to do something. You can't just roll into the year with these guys. Saleh said, up yours, Boy Green. I'm not going to listen to you, man. We're going to do our thing. And by the way, hey, man, I'll eat the L. That thing has worked incredibly well, including Brandon Echols. Let's try to get another Jet, a Rookie of the Year title championship maybe. So send your votes in as we're doing this live stream here. But let me ask you about the cornerbacks because Bryce Hall looks really good. Michael Carter II has showed promise, and Echols looked fantastic with the pick 6 against the Dolphins. Have you seen enough there where you're like, you know what? The Jets can do a couple of minor things, but that's pretty good. Or Are you still lacking that true number one corner? Because that's how I look at it. I like Eccles. He could 100% be a part of the rotation. So I'm shoving my own opinion in this question, but I just got to imagine that number one corner is still lacking, even with Bryce Hall, Michael Carter II, and Eccles.
Look, I certainly think they could use a little more talent and depth there. I think Bryce Hall's been really good this year. He's been one of the most encouraging players on the team. Eccles has made a nice impact, and he's been better than I think a lot of us expected. Do I think they're going to go take Stingley with their first pick? No. I'm curious to see how they look at the free agent market. It feels like safety is a bigger need than cornerback right now. But they've struggled a little bit in the slot. Carter had a really hot start. He's been a little banged up and struggled a little bit. And Guidry's really struggled a lot when out there. So adding more talent to that group would be a nice thing to do. And their lives will also get easier when they get better at safety, because safety's just been, a complete mess this year. So adding some stability there would be huge.
All right. Do you have a favorite solution at tight end? That is clearly an issue. Okay, good game for him this past week, but let's be honest, Joe. It has been a nightmare of epic proportions. Who's the guy? Draft, free agency, anyone you started to take a peek at, they're like, ooh, I'd like that fit with the Jets.
I mean, Dalton Schultz is kind of the top name that comes to mind. I'm not sure how Dallas pays him with how the other contracts they've shelled out, and just a guy who's a very reliable pass catcher. Could be hopefully that sort of version of Hunter Henry that Mac Jones has. And you see the impact it makes for him. And they need really two additions, I would say, at tight end. Like, you got to overdo it at that position because it makes such a difference for a young quarterback. So he seems like someone who will hit the market. And if he's healthy, could come in and be a 50, 60 catch guy that they badly need. They're really taping it together this year with the games they get from Croft and from Wesco and Ryan Griffin. They got to make a serious addition there, and I think they'll have an opportunity to do that with him if and when he hits the market.
What's your take on all the in-house free agents? Is there anyone you're banging the Badlands table for the Jets to re-sign this offseason?
No one too major. I don't think they're going to rush on Quentin Williams. I think he will ultimately get a new contract when his time is up. I think at the receiver room, they'll bring Berrios back because he's a good depth piece and special teamer. I have a hard time seeing Crowder and Cole come back. Maybe one of the two of them, but probably not both. I think they'll continue to address the receiver room in the draft. They already paid John Franklin Myers. Beyond that, I think it will be interesting to see what they do with tackle. I wouldn't mind seeing Morgan Moses back. I think you want as much tackle depth as possible because we don't know what the deal is with Mekhi Becton. So I'd bring back Fant and Moses and Becton. Have as much depth and competition as you possibly can. So those are some of the names that come top of mind to me.
Couple rapid fire before we get you out of here. Mims, what the heck do you do with Mims this offseason, man?
I think he's going to get traded ultimately. If I had to pull it, I think the ship has sailed. I don't know what happened this offseason, but it's not pretty, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to work for him and his coaching staff.
One of the greatest mysteries. I don't know. Okay, draft-wise, I know you guys, that's what Badlands, quite frankly, prides itself on. I think you tweeted it out. The regular season, you guys are just working your way up, and once we get to the offseason, that's where Badlands goes to show. So final one here, Joseph. Any draft guys you're drooling over right now? Again, where the Jets ultimately land in the draft is still TBD, but is there guys that you're like, that's a Jets guy that I would love to see?
It's so hard not to imagine them getting one of these top two edge rushers because it's still a position of need, even when Carl Lawson comes back. But if you get beyond that, I'm excited thinking about a guy like Treylon Burks ending up on the Jets. I know that's who Connor mocked to them with their second first-round pick. Some of these receiver names out there, they're not always crazy about going receiver that high, but to have that complementary piece to Elijah Moore for Zach Wilson, a guy like that, I think would be really exciting.
All right. Well, Joseph, again, happy holidays. Thank you so much for doing this. This is amazing. Feel free to give one more last Badlands plug before you sign off.
So check it out at patreon.com/BadlandsTOJ. Connor and I will have a new episode live tomorrow. A whole bunch of different takes on Joe Douglas. We'll have a film breakdown on Thursday, and then we'll have immediate reaction to whatever the hell happens in Jets Jaguars on Sunday.
Okay. It should be fun. Happy holidays, Joe.
Happy holidays, man.
There he is, Joe Caporoso coming off the screen. And folks, just for a few more minutes here, I will just try to get in a couple of these comments that came in. Again, wherever you're watching, feel free. I can get in some of those last-second comments on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I can answer any of those questions. Shout out to Joe Caporoso. They do a wonderful job over there at Badlands. I will also say this. Again, wherever you're watching, give a thumbs up to the video. Share it. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It makes a tremendous difference. We try to give you all New York Jets content all day, every day, and we try to provide that for each and every one of you. So again, make sure you show your support. I'd really appreciate it. Let's go through some of these comments here. From Perry, Jets scored more on Saints than the Bucks did. Go Zach Wilson. I mean, it's just science, Perry. Jets are better than the Bucks. That's what that means to me, baby. I love it. Go Zach Wilson. Absolutely. I love that. All right, let's see. Let's go to YouTube, Mr. Maj. Why are the Jets being so coy about what's going on with Becton? Is he just not putting in the work to return, or are they just babying him? I'll swipe that off the screen for a second while I try to attempt to answer that question. The coyness, I think, is just, Rich Cimini described it this way. Again, I know not everyone is the biggest Rich Cimini fan of the world, but I'll say this. Rich Cimini says that this, it's like hanging a piece of meat in front of the treadmill in front of somebody. And this is this motivational tactic like, oh, Becton, you could get there, keep working hard. And hopefully that's not the case, because that'd be quite an indictment on Mekhi Becton if you need to be externally motivated in that way. That would be incredibly disappointing. Rich Cimini is a great insider, and he's shared a lot of nuggets. And again, I know a lot of people find it very polarizing, but I would say this. I really hope that's not true, because Mekhi Becton, everything I've heard, this is a guy that wants to be great, has a desire to be great, Hall of Fame traits and all the like. So I really hope, quite frankly, he's ready to go. I don't really get it, because, quite frankly, with 3 games to go and we've heard no update, we'll get another update tomorrow with a full practice opportunity. But for me on the Mekhi Becton situation, it's just really tough to imagine him coming back this year. Jeremy Fowler had a report that he believed Becton was kind of planning to be back for Jacksonville. That's inside his own camp. We'll see if that's the case. Obviously, we've heard nothing on that front. Robert Saleh did not have an update on Monday when asked about it. But it's probably best to cryogenically freeze Mekhi Becton and have him ready for 2022, because I could only imagine if Becton comes back for Jags, Bucks, Bills, those are the only 3 games left on the slate. And then somehow he gets re-injured and then he's out all the way till training camp or something disastrous. I mean, we just don't want any of that. So that would be incredibly disappointing. I don't imagine, by the way, that he will be back this year, but maybe we get a Christmas surprise there from that standpoint. Back to Perry. Jets scored more against the Colts than the Pats did. Again, A plus B equals C. Jets are better than the Patriots. I love it, Perry. That is just science, quite frankly. That's great. All right, let's go to Soel. Can the players wear brown bags of their heads like the fans? Well, you know what? The defense is killing us. There's no question about it. It's been brutal to watch. The tackling has been substandard. It's just lacking some juice. It's lacking some chutzpah. And quite frankly, it's lacking some desire and effort. And a lot of these tackles are just weak attempts. Every 4th and 1 or 4th and inches, Miami converted automatically outside of the weird fake punt. Don't really know what they were shooting for from that perspective. But nonetheless, the Jets tackling has been piss poor. They need to correct that to have any opportunity. And by the way, we're going to end this live stream on Zach Wilson, which, by the way, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I see everybody chiming in with questions and comments. So shout out again to Joe Caporoso for joining us. Again, scrolling on the ticker, @BoyGreen25. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the like and follow button for these happy holidays. We'll also have a Jets podcast out tomorrow. If you guys are audio listeners, the Jet Zone. I've been doing that for a decade. That's a New York Jets podcast talking about all things New York Jets. So we'll have an audio version as normal. It's an audio podcast coming out tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that on Apple, iTunes, and quite frankly, wherever you listen to your podcast. But quickly to finish up on Zach Wilson, I will say this. Zach Wilson has improved. Has it been spectacular? Is he going to win Rookie of the Year? No. He's not. But that doesn't mean it's a disaster. He has 2 picks in the last 5 games. To me, that's progress. He has found a way to cut back, play within the offense. For instance, I know no one talks about this, but they're going to be compared because they're from the same draft class. They're also going to be compared because they're playing this week. Trevor Lawrence hasn't had a touchdown pass or run in 7 weeks. 7 weeks. What the hell is going on down there in Jacksonville, for Pete's sake? I mean, come on. Where's all the hate for Trevor Lawrence? I get he's in Jacksonville and Zach Wilson's in New York, so that's not the sexy thing to do. But I'll tell you this. I am fully believing in Zach Wilson. And sure, we need to see some chutzpah. This Jaguars game is a great opportunity for it. The Tampa Bay game, the secondary is super questionable. Could be an opportunity there. The rest of the defense is pretty good, like Devin White and, Levante David and JPP and Shaq Barrett, and all that could be a lot of problems, especially for this Jets offensive line. But in this Jaguars game in particular. This could be a coming out party of sorts for Mr. Zach Wilson on the holiday. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Again, there is an opportunity there. I am still a full believer in Zach Wilson. All this craziness and nonsense that's floating out there, to me, it's all a moving field goal post. You want less interceptions, and then now you want more big plays. People can't make up their mind. It's an ever-evolving, changing conversation, which makes it impossible for Zach Wilson to quench the thirst of all you crazy Jet fans out there. I know it's not all of you, but I just felt necessary to answer the bell on all the Zach Wilson stuff. All right, everybody, make sure you check out Heavy on Jets. I am the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. So Jets articles, speculation, free agency, draft, trade, breakdowns, all that fun stuff on the Facebook page. Make sure you check it out. Heavy on Jets on Facebook. Like the page and show your support. And also, like I said, we're streaming live simultaneously in 3 places. Heavy on Jets on Facebook, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25, and my Twitter account, @BoyGreen25. Wherever you're watching, show your support. Like, follow, subscribe. Make sure you show your support because we would really appreciate it, and it helps keep my lights on, because if I didn't have my lights on, this would be a much different show to watch. You know what I mean? So anywho, make sure you show your support. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Boy Green signing off. We'll see you tomorrow for the Jet Zone, and after every single Jets game, win, loss, tie, even, we're here for a live stream moments after the game is over, streaming live, taking questions, and reacting to the latest Jets game. So we'll be back on Sunday as well. So keep an eye out for that in the podcast tomorrow. So thank you, everybody, and we got more content coming. We'll see you later. Peace out.